Hello, everybody. This is 154 of the Leon Legree podcast, the source in tech, news, and what is going on in today's societal culture of what we're using between the good and the bad of technology. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about Pirate Chain. R. And so in today's episode, Pirate Chain has been the most exciting crypto I've hold for some time, and it is one of the best crypto privacy tokens. And it is really cool that how all the rest of the cryptos have sunk, and I will be explaining more in today's episode. And before we begin on today's episode, I want to go ahead and give you a few words of our sponsors. Today's words of our sponsors go to Scooch Case. Now, if you've not heard of Scooch Case, or if you've listened to this podcast previously before, mentioned about Scooch Case, it is because that I have a big love for this brand right here. And Scooch, it very much impresses me. In fact, the other day, I walked into a store and I've actually dropped on the phone, and it did a really good job. And no scratches. When the case just dropped probably less than 10 feet, it works great. And even with some of my accidents I do with my crazy accidents, somehow this case just fits well for me, and I enjoy this case. This case is absolutely excellent, and I pretty much have this worn in my phone all the time. So to me, I never have I switched to another brand like anything else. And to me, Scooch is just very much perfect. The best part about this isn't just a case. This one has a kickstand, and you can have it standing up whenever you want, or you can place that click stand right off the air vent off your car and just use it as a GPS mount instead, which is pretty much cool. I love it. I love this case a lot, and it's worked out great too. And also, guys, if you use the link down below, down in the description, that way you'll not also save yourself a phone for the long run, but you're going to end up supporting me here in the Leon the Great podcast. Go ahead and check it out. Grab yourself a Scooch Case. Next up is Brave browser. And I've been using Brave browser for about more than 3 years now. I am very satisfied. I love the browser, and for me, it is perfect for privacy. And though I will mention that throughout the recent release, it's already comes with Tor. If you've not heard about Tor, like the Tor browser itself, it is very much private here. And I've been using Tor browsers on and off between the stable version and the beta version of Brave. And I like Brave the most because it does well for privacy, unlike other browsers like Firefox and or Chrome. They do not care about your privacy at all, even though they claim they do not. And for me, this has been one of the best switches I've ever done. And believe me, this works out great too. Even though there are other browsers that does a really good job and has plenty of advantages in protecting your privacy, Brave is something that I've pretty much kept by default ever since. If you go ahead and use the link down below, you'll not just support me, you'll end up going ahead and help yourself in the long run. Believe me, you will love Brave. Lastly, and not least, it is Podbeam and Blueberry, and two great hosting providers I've used on and off between bases. I have to say though, my very first one was Podbeam. I've used it for about a year. It works great for a hosting provider, and it does a really good job. So with that said, I actually like those two the most. If you're gonna host your podcast for the first time, I definitely recommend Blueberry. And if you click down below, down on the details or the description down below, you can also use Blueberry for 1 month. Also, that you can just cancel Blueberry anytime. Which I have to say though, there is no gain. Pretty much, there's no loss going when canceling out your subscription right here too. And the customer service is great with Blueberry, and I've had no problems ever since using Blueberry. And also Podbeam. Podbeam has been a great hosting provider, and I love them as well. Their customer service, their hosting is great. Check both of them out too. I'll have them down below in the description, right off the show notes below. Now, with all that said, and I want to say everyone that have sticked around for me for throughout the remaining of the Leon LeGray series, I would love to say thank you so much for everyone to coming on board. If you are a very new listener of the Leon LeGray show, all I can say is just thank you for coming in and taking a listen. And it is awesome for everyone here just being around and sticking around. And let's get right down into today's episode. And so in today's episode, I want to talk about the important thing that's been going on recently in the crypto world. And I will say, though, this is very much it's a wild end of the week, actually. And so, my God, the markets on throughout the whole week started out well, and the crypto markets have actually done really well over the past 2 weeks. And then finally, we come to this week, and you see how everything is all shaken up, right? And oh my goodness, it's because one thing why it dipped so bad because of the effects of the markets and what's been going on very, very recently. And it just hasn't reacted this well for a very, very long time. And I found this out when I was checking up on altcoins that week. I mean, especially though I will say that not every single cryptocurrency had a huge crash. In fact, the one of the biggest crash that had a huge effect was Bitcoin and Ethereum. And though I don't fear too much of the crash, because at least if you know that it's gonna end up becoming better, at least you know that you'll end up buying the dips, and then when you buy the dips, you'll end up it'll go up high. So that's actually not too bad per se on dips. Now going back on Bitcoin, it had a 20% dip. It just plummeted. It really was a big hit for everyone right there, to anyone that's owning crypto. And my lord, it was just brutal to watch late Thursday night, early Friday morning, and how hard it just hit. It was something that hit all the crypto fanatics too. It's just something you think you'll never ever seen, but my gosh, for a moment, I would figure that Bitcoin would have kept on climbing, but over 70K. But now with the crash, it's gonna go ahead and stay around the 50Ks. Now, however, everyone is looking into right now how this all became. I'll get into it just a moment. Now, however, I don't think this dip is a big deal, but if it does turn out to be a very big deal later on, if it goes to a much bigger dip, like let's say below 40K, that I would be much concerned. I'll tell you the truth, but this is really much a hard hit on the crypto scenes. And right now I'm going to get into why why it was something. It had a huge effect on the markets, not just crypto, but everything else. Nasdaq, S&Ps, you name it. And that's not something I'm going to get into right now in the moment. So after doing the research back late Thursday, early Friday morning, now the reason that plummets so hard on in cryptocurrencies and throughout the rest of the big three, the Nasdaq, the Dow, and the S&P 500, is because one thing, what we're seeing it due to Biden's administration, which is going to be such a huge hurdle on anyone that's holding on assets. And on Bloomberg on that day, that was reported on the 22nd, Biden eyeing, which in the headline says Biden eyeing tax rate as high as 43.4% in next economic package. So that's where it started to hit so hard with cryptos. And I think there was, in my sense, that was kind of one of the reasons that hit so hard on many of the crypto space. That's why a lot of people didn't see this coming, but in a way, I'm sure that some people did, and many others that were holding on to Bitcoin or in other crypto assets weren't. And to me, I expected something like this supposedly supposed to happen. For me, I've paid attention with the whole Biden administration. As some of you already know, I'm not a fan of what's going to happen with the whole capital gains tax under Joe Biden's administration. And I'll just read this and I'll tell you more about it as I go along the article right here, which says here, President Joe Biden will propose almost doubling the capital gains tax rate for wealthy individuals to 39.6 to help pay for a raft for social spending that addresses long-standing inequality, according to people familiar with the proposal. For those earning $1 million or more, the new top rate compiled with an existing surtax on investment income, which means, so let me just stop right here, which means that if you hold on, let's say, investments, or if you hold oil, other investments or stocks, that's where the taxes are going to hurt people that holds these stocks right there too. So that's where this is going to hurt investors. And so continue on means that the federal tax rate for wealthy investors could be as high as 43.4%, which is super high. and this is one thing I'm going to pause right here before continue on to read. Now, for anyone voted for Biden, I'm not against that. Nothing at all too. But however, I never voted for him, never was a big fan, but I would say he is one big puppet. If you voted for him, fine, not against you people. But the way I see it is that what you get is what you see. Pretty much. Very much so. Under Biden. More spending, more tax hikes, you name it. So that's where it all comes down to too. But however, let me not try to get way too political, because the whole subject is pretty much going towards about Bitcoin. And to me, I'm going to get into the main topic of the story right here too, and continue on from here, which says the new marginal 39.6% rate would be an increase from the current base rate of 20%. The people said on the condition of anonymity, because the plan is not yet public. A 3.8 tax on investment income that funds Obamacare would be kept in place, pushing the tax rate on returns on financial assets higher than rates on some wage and salary income, they say. Stocks slid the most in more than a month on the news, with the S&P 500 index down 0.9% at a close. 10-year Treasury yields fell to 1.54% from an intraday high of 1.59% before Bloomberg's report. So this is where we are at with Biden's administration. Even though it hasn't been more than 5 months on Biden now, but we are definitely going to see more price hikes, more of this right here, and that's why the markets reacted bad the way it did this week. So again, very very bad right there. So, but yeah, it's going to be quite terrible. Just to put it face front right there too. And seeing how this package is going to affect everybody, it's not just the rich. It's definitely going to hurt middle class and the poor as well. So that's where we are at the moment for now. And so even though Bitcoin may come up too, here's one thing I will say with everything going on with the capital gains tax is that if you hold Bitcoin, if you hold Ethereum, Chainlink, or other public assets that can be traced by the IRS, that those payments will be traced. That is far from the truth. If you hold any of those assets, it's going to be pretty much a matter of time that you will be taxed by the bitcoins you hold or the cryptocurrencies that you hold, no matter. However, the question I see about this is how are they going to do it? How will Bitcoin can be taxed? To me, I have to say that I'm not a tax expert, and to me, that's pretty much off the subject I'm going to be talking about right there too. And I would say I advise anybody is going to a tax specialist. If you hold more than $10,000 of Bitcoin or or hundreds of thousands of Ethereum, you name it. Because that's one thing I've been noticing right there too, is like if you hold anything on a public exchange or let's say Coinbase, which to me, I am very much against Coinbase. I actually had an account with Coinbase. The problem I see with Coinbase is that can be traced. You cannot expect to hold on an exchange or a public wallet like Coinbase. It's not something I would ever keep everything all in one wallet. And that's why. Even though I did see that Coinbase did become public about almost a week ago, and hey, good on them, you know. But again, I'm against it because there's way too many ties with the IRS. Everything that you see with Coinbase, I don't trust 100%. It is way too risky, and that's where you have way too much tax situations coming down the lines right there too. And that's why you'd never want to have anything that's linked or associated with the IRS. It's very risky. That's why you never want to do that. Because besides, let's put it out there this way: the more you work right here, you're already gonna get taxed, and the American people are already taxed as it is right there too. And I've done my research with Bitcoin after following up for many years. One thing about Bitcoin is that it is not a secure and private token. Before it was, but by the time they start creating public ledgers, that's where all these transactions can be traced. So that whenever you're paying something out of Bitcoin, anything can be traced, and that's not really anonymous right there too. I mean, I don't even think Bitcoin was even anonymous before this, even though technically it does say on the white papers of Bitcoin that is supposedly it's decentralized, right? And it cannot be touched. Now, that part right there, yes, there's truth in that, but at the same rate, I don't think it's going to be decentralized anymore with now people from Wall Street, the banks now catching up with cryptocurrencies and people quite falling onto the hands of, hey, well, we can have a safe place and putting it into a bank. However, I don't like that. I really don't like that option. Tell you the truth, I really don't, because putting it in the bank is far worse than you'll ever put yourself to. Because let's say, for example, if you put anything in the bank, the banks will, even though yes, it's going to be protected by the FDIC and there are regulations that'll do it, but at the same rate, if you put your Bitcoin on the bank, then guess what? That will be taken away from you. So to me, that's not a good way to store your crypto assets. It is not, and banks will never be. And if you have it on an exchange, though I say yes, it is safe to have it on exchanges. And there are exchanges for good reasons. If you want to switch, let's say, Bitcoin to Ethereum or Ethereum to Litecoin or whatever, right? So you have tons and tons of options to have it on exchanges. And as long as it's not like a public exchange, like for instance, Coinbase, I'm sure it is a public exchange and everyone uses it right here too. But again, there's a moment right there. I see myself that if you have an exchange, if you're putting your money into an exchange, all that transaction is not private. Let's face it, it is not. By the moment you put anything there, it's going to be tracked and traced. Simple as that. There's nothing private about Bitcoin anymore. What it once was, and to put it bluntly, there's never been anything private, and now you've definitely have tons of privacy coins out there right now too. And I'm going to get into what I'm going to talk about, which is Pirate Chain. And to me, you've already had a privacy tokens like Litecoin, Dash, Monero, which is very private, which is very much of a good option to have on you. And then now, the one up and forefront, which to me, that's already on the top 100 up on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, which right now it is Pirate Chain. Or if you type in ARRR, that's where you're going to see why it's climbed up, why privacy coins matter. And so that's where I'm going to get onto Pirate Chain and why, for me, I am very, very much bullish on Pirate Chain. And I love Pirate Chain, to be exactly honest. And so for me, Pirate Chain, it's what I've read on the papers, on the white papers here, what all these developers that are interested in Pirate Chain, how come it's grown so much while all the other cryptos got slammed and plummet? Here's why: because this coin has huge potentials, and it shows that it is much more private than Bitcoin. That is why. Because thing about with Bitcoin is, while it's lasted for over a decade, and while it is good to have some Bitcoins because it is very much public and they have it on all crypto exchanges. That I don't deny right there too. It is good to have a bit of Bitcoin, and to compare it to R or Pirate Chain, which is a cool name to have, cool name for a token right there, or a coin, which is great. But getting onto it, why I'm very bullish, because it has the fundamentals, it's fungible, and I really liked that it has privacy by default. So there's the point I like about Pirate Chain. Now there are going to be other ones like Monero, Aeon, which to me I've not read too much about those privacy coins. Something I'd love to look up some point down the road. And to me, R has been something that's in my sights. That's something I've been looking at for some time. I think it's really amazing to have, honestly. This is something that for anyone that is looking into privacy coins, Pirate Chain has blown up so fast. In fact, I don't even understand how come it's blown so fast. But now everyone is jumping into the pirate ship and decided we're gonna get off the Bitcoin because Bitcoins are not big, and also people are starting to realize Bitcoin isn't that private either. But yeah, so that's why you go to other exchanges that are not like mainstream or public. For instance, I got my my pirate chain through Trade Ogre. Trade Ogre is really good, and I know there's another exchange, though I don't know what's the process or the sign up process of CoinX. I don't know if you have to have your ID or any KYC verification, though I'm not too sure about how the process works. But with Trade Ogre is very simple. There's no KYC, and I think it's great because this is just another regulation they are just slapping on so they can find out who you are and what you're trying to do with Bitcoin. In terms like that, yes, there's going to be so much they really want from you, and then hold so much of your information like your ID, your social security, so on and so forth whenever you're signing up to an exchange. And to me, Pirate Chain is going to be something that will end up taking over, and the rest of the piracy coins too. And you look at like the main ones like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, what else? And Ethereum. There we go. And you see all those four right there too. Those are like the four main ones. Those are going to stay around. I'm sure of it too. And what I've also understood from somebody that follows this, follows cryptocurrencies just as much as I do, saying that Bitcoin will fall within 5 years. For me, I doubt it. I really, really doubt that it's going to just fall and tumble down in 5 years. And to me, I can see it lasting a little bit longer, probably about within 7 to 8 years, because I don't think I really don't even think that Bitcoin's value is going to drop like a hot potato. I do think that Bitcoin will stay around a little bit longer, though. Even if Bitcoin doesn't exceed to go as high as 100K, hey, besides, at least it's a wake up call for Bitcoin holders to look up and wake up and say, hey, this is something I'm going to hold for a bit too, but in no way I'm going to jump the ship to Bitcoin until things get worse. But this is kind of the signs that a lot of Bitcoin holders are going to have to look up and say, I am definitely going to make a switch to other privacy coins that matters about my privacy. And hey, I say that's a good deal for you, and you got to see what's going to help you out down the road. So yeah, because for me, if a coin is not privacy by default, I will not take it. I will not use it, because that all these transactions will be traced. Simple as that too. And though I will get into with Bitcoin, there have been some good opportunities in the past, and I know that Elon Musk has promoted Bitcoin, and I've seen people on the land of Twitter promoting Bitcoin like crazy. And here's the thing about one thing I think a lot of people have talked about, which is Doge. I don't support Doge because there's no market cap for Doge, and it can be unlimited. And though a good thing about I don't know if there's any good thing about Dogecoin, because to me Dogecoin has no fundamentals. That's why I've never hold up on Dogecoin. And that was one thing I said, okay, probably it may work temporarily, but it may not work for long, because even with Doge, it had a huge dip along with the rest of the cryptocurrencies. So yeah, that's something I will never hold on to Doge for long. And if you guys hold Doge, whatever, right? And I would say make sure while you hold on to Doge, don't keep it for long, because that coin may not even last. Plus, what was the last time I've seen Doge go above $1? I never have. And that's the problem about that too. People are holding to something that is worthless. That is worthless. So, but with that said, this is pretty much what I'm going to be talking about. And to me, I will be promoting a bit of Pyrochain down the lines right here too. And for me, there are actually a couple of exchanges that you can go through and purchase Pyrochain. And I know there was one exchange that did open up for Pyrochain or R, which is Changely Pro. And I'll have the links in the description down below in the show notes to check it out too, if you're interested in going making your purchase through Chainlink or the one I use, Trade Ogre, which to me that is still a good trading platform, which I still recommend right there, even though there have been few issues that I've had in some instance that some of the transactions didn't go to my wallet successfully, which for me right there, yes, that part right there, that I've had an issue on it in the past, but I don't think it's been a big deal for me. I think they've already fixed the whole transactional issues, so overall it hasn't been too bad ever since. But again, Trade Ogre, definitely recommend it. Something for every one of you to give a shot and see where this goes. And to find out more about Pyrochain, I'll have the link down in the description below of the recent blog I wrote about Pyrochain. So if you want to check it out, go ahead and do so. But with that said, thanks for listening to this short and sweet episode of Pyrochain, and something that hopefully this is going to inform all of you listeners. If you are interested in privacy like I do, I think it'll be a good time to hodl in while the price is still low, under $50. I already got some Pyrochain, and I know that by the time 2 months pass, it'll be over $100. So that's just my theory. So you guys can make up what you see right there. But with that said, thank you so much for taking a listen of the Leon Great podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. Bye.